To know me is to fly with me. This is where I live.
From Boston University Center for Digital Imaging Arts, I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
And this is the Post Movie Podcast. This week we are going to be discussing the films Up in the Air and Brothers, and possibly House of the Devil. And if you've seen anything else that you want.
Well, you're going to try to convince me that House of the Devil is worth seeing.
I think I can do that. I can try. If your mind is capable of being,
manipulated? Yeah. Manipulated. What do we want to talk about first? Up in the Air?
Let's kick things off with Brothers.
Brothers, since we're already ragging on it.
Since we're already ragging on it. And I liked the idea. Do you want the good news or the bad news first? The bad news.
Yeah.
Oh man. I walked out of the movie and I said to another journalist, this is definitely not the feel-good movie of the year. I think it was.
Yeah, but did you like it? I thought it was a badly made movie.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand so much about it, but the first thing that bothered me was that, to me, it was a movie that had celebrities instead of actors. Where I never believed Tobey Maguire, I never believed Jake Gyllenhaal, and I never believed Natalie Portman were anything but them trying to be, sad or angry or whatever. I didn't get any kind of commitment from them at all.
Yeah, I don't feel like there was any real immersion.
No.
And they never lost.
No, not at all.
Themselves. It was a star vehicle. Right,
exactly. And for a story like this, especially you take someone like Tobey Maguire, he's a soldier, a Marine captain going back to Afghanistan. We see him with his family. He goes, something terrible happens, and then he comes back a changed man. Mm-hmm. I never got the sense that there was any change. He was bug-eyed and scary looking in the beginning. It's what he was in Afghanistan, and he came back bugging his eyes out more to show how, changed he was. I didn't believe it at all.
Yeah. There was, it was just going on that trajectory. The whole thing was just a friggin' tragedy, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, what did you think about the way they edited the two stories between the scenes back at home and the scenes in Afghanistan?
Man, I didn't really care. It was just like I was just riding this thing in a way that it was disinteresting. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have chosen to see this movie.
Right.
But I'm here to tell other people, since I have seen it, that it is a fucking downer. God. I mean, I can see how Jim Sheridan would be interested in this. You have the crisscrossing character arcs. Jake Gyllenhaal's character Tommy and Tobey Maguire's Sam.
Yeah.
They both position themselves for the respect of their father, played by another actor who doesn't...
Sam Shepard.
Yeah, it's always Sam Shepard. It's not whoever he's playing, Hank. it's Sam Shepard. And so during the course of the movie, well, the first time you meet Jake Gyllenhaal, it's Tommy. Sam's picking him up from prison.
Right.
So you know where he's starting from. The first time you meet Sam, he's surrounded by family, loving environment, perfect guy, got everything straight upstairs.
Yeah.
Everything is not so straight upstairs for Tommy, but things crisscross. And then there's this gray moment where after Natalie Portman is informed, or Grace is informed that Sam has been killed, Tommy goes through this change.
Yeah,
he moves into the house.
Was that believable?
No,
not at all. I mean, and the way they do it too is like, how do we show he's changed? Let's go ice skating.
Yeah,
because if
montages.
Yeah, because if Tommy ice skates and is all cute with the kids ice skating, he's no longer the scumbag of the family, the black sheep, the ex-con, and it's odd because there's a scene in here where, there's a moment when the two brothers are driving and they pass the bank that Tommy robbed, and his brother says, "Did you ever apologize to the woman?" I guess a woman that he put a gun in her face when he robbed the bank or whatever. So, did you ever apologize? No, I'll get to it, whatever. And so one of his big moments of change is when Tommy goes back and apologizes to this woman, and they don't show it. They don't have that scene in the movie. They show Tommy like all nervous, smoking a cigarette outside, and then they show him like whining to or confessing to Natalie Portman that, you know, it really changed him to do this. Have the guts, have the commitment to show me that scene of Jake Gyllenhaal actually confessing, you know, to confront his past and to deal with it like a man. But they don't show that scene. How am I supposed to believe he's changed if I don't see it?
Well, I think that the daughters are the characters that are the barometer of who's changed in what way and whether or not they're acceptable. And as long as they're comfortable being with either Tommy or Sam.
We want Tommy, we want Daddy.
Exactly.
Oy.
Man. Oh, and you know what? Every dinner in this movie was a disaster. It was a disaster waiting to happen. None of them, I think there were 3, and each one was going to end in a family argument. There was nothing.
Yeah.
No one was going to get out of away from this table without some sort of issue or passive-aggressive remark or some sort of hurt. And you know, I think at the 3rd dinner, it was just like, there's just no way.
Is that the one where Tommy brings the girl he just met to the Christmas dinner? Yeah, that was so clever. But you know, back when we talked about the back and forth, because all these family scenes are cut with scenes of Sam, you know, undergoing some brutal torture as a prisoner of war in Afghanistan. And the thing that bothered me is that the whole premise is that the family believes he's dead, and that's why Grace and Tommy fight against their building passions and finally, you know, kiss. That's it. They just kiss. But it's cut with these scenes of, you know, we see what Sam's going through. So we know he's not dead. And so we're kind of set up going, you know, I don't believe this is real. The home scenes are real because I know he's not dead. He's coming back. And it just undercut any kind of tension. If he had appeared suddenly at the door, still alive, and then they told me through flashbacks what had happened, it might have had more validity to me as a story. But because I know all along it's not happening, so what? When he shows up, it's like, duh, now we're on to Act 3 where, you know, will Tommy go skating again? It
would have been a better reveal had we, the audience, known that Tobey Maguire was not.
Why tell us that?
Come back. And it was all in the marketing. You knew that at some point, all the crazy stuff that they show you in the clips and the whatever, or the trip, that he's coming back.
Yeah.
You know he's coming back. And it just, and you know this while watching the movie, and it sort of pulls the plug on it. But it's a tough marketing sell. Here you've got a huge star, and you want this guy to sell your movie on his name. And if you get the impression that he's going to be in the movie for half hour and then die, do people think they're getting their money's worth? Well, I don't think I would have paid $10 to see this. Jim Sheridan let us down because he put all his cards on the table, and the reveals were there. I don't think.
Well, and then the ending was just so lame. So lame. And, you know, it's kind of like, I know we don't spoil things by telling them how it ends, but the ending's cheap. It doesn't, I don't believe it. It's not the big punch it needs, a story like this needs. You know? It's like, oh, it's just very frustrating. Very frustrating.
It was. I felt kind of cheated by the advertising for the film, you know, in the clips and with Tobey Maguire trashing the kid, or Sam trashing the kitchen, and you get the idea that he's just a psycho, and it's really only one scene. You know, I mean, he does some weird, you know, comes to some weird conclusions that really unsettle the kids and stuff like that. But as far as violence goes, and that's the part that they're using to.
Yeah, it's big. The reason it's supposed to be a big deal in the movie is because his brother's the one who built the kitchen while he was away.
Which was the only scene in the movie I liked.
The guys
scenes with Ethan Suplee and those guys building the kitchen, and then the paint spilling on the guys, because they were like, maybe that friendship thing was part of his cathartic turnaround into Mr. Good Guy.
Those are probably the guys he robbed the bank with.
Probably the guys he robbed the bank with. True.
But it's the only scene that rings true. because they're very natural. They're just being guys, and when one of them gets paint spilled, they say some funny stuff, and it's like, okay, this I believe. I didn't believe Jake is a thug in jail, that's for sure. Giving him a neck tattoo doesn't make him a tough guy.
There's a whole lot of baggage that goes with tattoos in movies. They just,
but just giving him like this giant neck tattoo that he seems to be like always pointing towards the camera to prove he's a bad guy. That's all I'm looking at is the tattoo going, that's fake.
And Grace, Natalie Portman, never truly happy.
No.
Always contemplative and on edge about something. But she doesn't grow. I don't get it. It's just a one note.
I would love to. The only reason I would sit through that movie again is count how many times she flips her hair. She does. It's like before every crime scene, it's like flip. I've got a dramatic thing to say. Flip. It's like stop flipping your hair. Take off the neck tattoo. And Tobey Maguire, blink for God's sakes. Just blink.
Oh, yeah.
Holding your eyes open like that doesn't make you.
He must have had somebody on set with some Visine.
Yeah. They had like the Clockwork Orange things, the clips holding his eyes open that wide.
Right.
It just bothered me.
Yeah.
So obviously this is one we would recommend to stay away from.
And the use of the U2 music. There's a couple of, I guess there's a new song at the end, but then they use that.
The song.
And they're like, you can dig it for a minute, and then we're back to the
that was the
oddball
thing too, is that that's the bonding agent between Sam and Tommy.
Oh, right,
and Grace.
right, yes.
Is that
That's
like
what they're
sitting in front of the fireplace and a U2 song comes on, and Tommy's like, "Oh, I used to listen to this," and "No, I did too." "No, you didn't." "Yes, I did." "Let's get high." And then suddenly the straight-laced Grace, the cheerleader who married the football captain and all that, takes 2 hits of a joint and puts a lip lock on her dead husband's brother. So believable. But and the thing is, that's as far as it goes. They kissed.
Yeah. I was bummed out after walking out of this movie. But there is a message in that his character suffers from this post-traumatic stress disorder, and when he comes back from Afghanistan, he's bringing all this garbage into the present, and it just makes everything around. I think the thing was that they had this beautiful sort of family thing that they didn't have before Sam died, and then he comes back and ruins that with all this garbage that he brings to the present, and he is hiding this secret. It's this secret that's eating him from the inside.
But like I said before, and it might be again because you were talking about the advertisement and seeing him blow up in the kitchen and stuff, I never got a sense that there was a happy family dynamic before he goes away. I didn't feel any connection between him and Grace. I think from the minute Tobey Maguire shows his face in this movie, I'm thinking psycho. I didn't find him a lovable character or even a good dad or anything.
He was not a likable guy.
He was psycho
even when he acted like one.
Yeah, he was psycho in the beginning. He just came back more psycho. Meanwhile, Jake's the same way. I didn't think he was a thug. I think he was just a likable, goofy guy. And that's what, wins Grace's heart. It's like, all right, whatever.
What's funny, interesting also, though, is they didn't get the poster wrong. Look at how depressing the poster is for the movie, with them all leaning each other. Okay? That's what you're getting.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting. A couple hours of, oh man, this is like the feel crappy movie of the year.
Yeah, well, I didn't, but the thing is, if I felt crappy because it was a well-told story about a serious subject that made me feel bad, fine. I just felt I felt crappy because it was a crappy movie. I just wasted
a way to be happy is to not talk about brothers anymore. John, I'm not kidding you. There was a point where I was like, man, I don't want to talk about this movie.
No, it's good to talk about it.
This is painful.
Because now we're going to talk about a good one, right? You did like Up in the Air, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Should we just segue right into that?
Yeah.
All right, so Up in the Air is another George Clooney movie. It's the third one this year at least. And in it, he plays an executive named Ryan Bingham, who it's his job to fly to other companies that are downsizing. He's the guy they hire to come in and to fire other people. And I think it's one of Clooney's best performances.
You were right. It's good. It's good. I was really impressed with it. I mean, Jason Reitman has himself another fine film, really well written.
I guess he co-wrote it.
The novel, based on the novel by Walter Kern.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, great job. Really, really great. And I like the way that they used the real confessions from people who were really laid off, and it gave this gravity to the, what was going on here.
But they mix in those performances. They have, like you said, actual clips of people talking about losing their job, but they mix them in with some really good performances. With J.K. Simmons plays a guy named Bob, and it's in the midst of all the stuff, and it's kind of weird because it's him. It's that face. Mm-hmm. But he tells his story about what's he going to do, how's he going to tell his family he lost his job. And it's heartbreaking the way he does it. But then it's a great scene for Clooney because it shows what his character is all about, where he convinces them this is really an opportunity to follow your dreams, which we come to find is kind of like corporate speak. This is what they're telling people. But for that moment, it feels honest and true. And I think it's because of J.K. Simmons. And, it's he's not in the movie again. It's just this little point. But I never get this guy's name right. Zach
Galifianakis.
Thank you. He has the same kind of role, but he's more the angry, comic employee who loses his stuff when he gets fired. But, it's interesting. What do you think of now? We've had Clooney in The Men Who Stare at Goats. We've had Clooney as Fantastic Mr. Fox. And we've got Clooney in Up in the Air. How do you see the three different Clooneys? So is it just that he's on a roll, he's had a good year, or?
I haven't seen Men Who Stare at Goats.
Okay.
But I guess I would say this is the real George. This is the real Clooney. And it's not like, this is George Clooney, but this does what the actors in Brothers didn't do. You really feel that this guy is, he's like a perfect guy to fly around and fire people. He's good looking. He has an energy about him. He's sharp, and this is what he does. He's strategic, right to the point. And I think the characters around him are amazed by how much he likes this, and also fascinated by, what a hollow life. He lives in the sterility of airports and airplanes and hotels and traveling 250 days out of the year, and just, he's got his goals aren't social goals, they're numbers. They're
frequent flyer miles and comps and all that.
Yeah.
Hungry much?
Our business expense allows $40 each for dinner. I plan on grabbing as many miles as I can.
Okay. You gotta fill me in on the miles thing. What is that about? Are you talking about frequent flyer miles?
You really want to know?
I'm dying to know.
I don't spend a nickel if I can help it, unless it somehow profits my mileage account.
So what are you saving up for? Hawaii? South of France?
It's not like that. The miles are the goal.
That's it? You're saving just to save?
Let's just say that I have a number in mind and I haven't hit it yet.
That's a little abstract. What's the target?
I'd rather not.
Is it a secret target?
It's 10 million miles.
Okay. Isn't 10 million just a number?
Pi's just a number.
Well, we all need a hobby. No, I don't mean to belittle your collection. I get it. It sounds cool.
I'd be the 7th person to do it. More people have walked on the moon.
Did they throw you a parade?
You get lifetime executive status. You get to meet the chief pilot, Maynard Finch.
Wow.
And they put your name on the side of a plane.
If you guys don't grow up, it's like you need to pee on everything.
On a personal level, that's like the ideal life to me. I would love that life. I would love to just fly around and have like that. I don't want a crappy apartment in Omaha, but have that one base of operation I see like 30 times a week, 30 times a year. But otherwise, to fly around and do what he does, love that. But when we talked about Clooney's one of those guys where how hard he must work to make it look so easy. Because he's not only it's not just the charming stuff. He has some great emotional scenes in this movie too. Mm-hmm. But the one who really stole the show for me was Anna Kendrick.
Yeah.
Who
she's good. She really plays well off.
Right. She plays this young executive. She comes up with this idea that the company can save a lot more money by just firing people remotely over the internet. and not have to fly around the country. They can just bring all these people back in and do it from Omaha. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because mostly we remember her, she was in Twilight and she was in New Moon. She does nothing in those movies.
Terrific film. What was it called? Rocket Science.
Right.
Her debating abilities were just insane. She's such a good talker. She doesn't move much. She's got very, she's very like Steve McQueen says, it's not all this, like what you're really connecting with is like these little minuscule movements, and that's what she has.
Right.
Little tiny things that really work, and she's very proper and, just salient.
Well, which is funny because there's a great scene in Up in the Air where she loses it when her boyfriend leaves her, and she has this crying fit in the middle of a hotel really lobby and it's the same thing you mentioned. It's not, she doesn't move a lot, but she completely breaks down, and it's hilarious.
The water was building up and it broke the dam.
Yeah, but it's not one of these big, her arms and legs don't give out. She still stands pretty still, but she just loses it, and it was hilarious. When you'd mentioned that she's in Rocket Science?
Yes.
There's also a movie called Camp, which came out a while ago. And
I haven't seen it.
She sings, it's about kids who go to theater camp, and she plays a girl who sings a Sondheim song, The Ladies Who Lunch, and it's the thing you remember walking out of the theater. Who is that girl? And this was 5 years ago, maybe. Mm-hmm. And that's, despite a great Clooney performance in this, I walked out amazed by what she did, carrying the weight.
She's a really good actress. She's going to be I think a great character actress.
And she'll always make a paycheck from doing the Twilight stuff, so she's not in any, she can hopefully sit back and choose the roles she wants. Because I guess Jason Reitman wrote this specifically for her. He does that a lot with his, when I talk to him, he does that a lot with his actors. He'll write dialogue knowing he's got George Clooney, so this is how Clooney speaks. And then...
Clooney speak.
That's it's Clooney. I wish we all had Clooney speak, right? There's also another woman in this.
Vera Farmiga.
Yes.
Terrific.
Yes, who is one of those actresses who is different in everything she does. Whether she's
really good.
The mom in Orphan, or there was a movie, I'm not going to remember the name, but it was...
The Departed, she played the lawyer.
Right. But there was one, it had... what's the guy's name he's in Sherlock Holmes now? He plays Watson.
Jude Law.
Jude Law was an architect who was building this building in London, and he had an affair with the mother of a kid who stole some stuff. It was
Sleuth?
No.
I don't think I've seen it.
Anyway, Vera played an Eastern European hooker who would show up at this guy's car, and they would talk late at night as he sat at his construction site. Hilarious. Just, and it was one of those things you walk out, who is this woman? So in this movie, she plays, let's call it a female Clooney. She she travels a lot for a living, and they plan their schedule. They have an affair meeting in a hotel once, and then they plan their schedule. We'll both be in Miami this week, so let's meet then. And, I won't give it away, but there's more that goes on with their relationship.
She sure does teach him a thing or two about being a straight up guy.
Yeah.
And
but there's great chemistry between them.
Yes.
And there's a hilarious scene where he text messages about how he can't sleep thinking about her, and she tells him to rub one out, and it's like
that was.
I love that woman. Yeah. It's just one of those things. It's definitely a guy thing. But if a woman gives you that kind of advice, marry her.
There's so much in putting her character together that says that she's, just right on par, right on track with Ryan, George Clooney's character.
Right.
They're just.
But when that dream relationship hits a big brick wall, it gives the film a nice emotional punch.
He needs that. To me, his character he has a hollow pursuit, and Anna Kendrick's character, Natalie, like a machine gun. That keeps reminding him that there's something more to this, you know, and she's using her relationship and what she wants to, remind him of these things. And I guess she's also fascinated by, you know, why he doesn't want these things. Mm-hmm. Maybe she sees him as a science project or something.
What happened to Alex?
She had to leave town early to get to a meeting.
It's too bad. Where's she live?
Chicago.
Thinking of going to see her?
I don't really have that kind of relationship. Try right over there. That's right.
What, kind of relationship do you have?
You know, casual.
Sounds pretty special.
It works for us.
Don't you think there's a future there?
I never really thought about it. What's going on here?
Really never thought about it?
No.
How can you not think about that? How does it not even cross your mind that you might want a future with someone?
It's simple. You know that moment when you look into somebody's eyes and you can feel them staring into your soul and the whole world goes quiet just for a second?
Yes.
Right, well, I don't.
But which makes, I, again, would give it away, but the ending for this movie works for me. You know, it's tied up in a way I wasn't quite expecting.
There are multiple endings in a way.
Yeah, and it all works well.
Yeah.
Which but it's not all wrapped up in a bow and made pretty at the end either. It's real.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that works well.
It is. The part that really, you know, like sends this movie going, like makes it interesting, you know, propels it along, is when she introduces her program, to do the firings remotely, and they're going to have all this stuff done out of one office, and you know they're going to save money by something like 80% of their whatever by not having their people in the field. Mm-hmm. It sounds like a great idea, but then what you learn, or you see rather quickly, is how a computer cannot replace what it means to the person being fired, just to have somebody else there.
Right.
I mean, to be fired by a text message or a computer is like an extra punch, because people are looking for reasons, reasons as to why this happened.
Yeah.
And people are not. You know, the coldness of the computer just makes it that much more hurtful. So Ryan Clooney's character is right, that he really does have a purpose to be there, although he may have the worst. He may represent, for these people at the other side of the table, the worst day of their lives. So he can make that better.
Well, I think the way that
just by being there,
Jason Reitman shows all that. There's a scene where when it's Natalie, which is Anna Kendrick's character, when she tests out the remote firing, they don't do it from Omaha to a different city. They do it from one cubicle to another. Mm. And so they're firing someone who's watching the computer screen in the next room, the terminal next to him, the cubicle next to him, and they can see the emotional damage that their thing is doing. Mm-hmm. You know, and this person has no one to relate to. All he has is a computer screen. You know, and it's a big hurt. Funny, but it's a great way for the director to make the point you were talking about without having to talk about it or give too many scenes. He just lets it happen. You know,
the firings, they're very riveting, mm-hmm. And I guess, you know, there are some answers, and then there's segments where the people being fired discuss how they, in reality, cope with this.
Right.
And so there are some answers there, but there's some thoughtful predicaments that are created by this.
Hi, this is John Black from Boston Event Guide. I recently had a chance to talk with Jason Reitman, director of Up in the Air, about how he uses actors in movies and what he expects from them. Here's what he had to say.
Can I talk to you a little bit about the ladies in this movie?
You can talk to me about whatever you wish.
Vera is one of my favorites, and one of the things I like about her is that she seems different in everything she does. And I wondered if you could talk about a little bit about her process, how she works.
I have no idea what her process is.
You saying you don't get involved in the actor's process? Or?
No, I don't believe in process, or at least I don't want to hear about it. I want my actors to be as natural as humanly possible, and I try to work with actors who share a quality with the character they're playing, and so that it always feels like it's coming from a place of truth. I'm not really interested in working with an actor who's playing a character that's the opposite of them. I don't need to cast an American as a 16th century monarch in England. You know, it doesn't appeal to me. So what I liked about Vera is that she doesn't judge her characters. And I was portraying a very specific woman, a woman in her late 30s who's going through kind of a midlife crisis based on the fact that the feminist movement promised her that she could have any life that she wanted and that she could do everything. And now she's trying to have and do everything, but we all have to sacrifice, is the truth. And that's where I think midlife crisis comes from. So I needed a woman who could be as masculine as she was feminine, completely in control of her sexuality, and not judge what happens from beginning to end of the film. You know, at the end of the day, it's really Ryan who breaks the rules of that relationship, not Alex. And I didn't want her to judge that.
So have you ever been fired?
I've never been fired. I've always been good at what I've done.
Some of it was creepy and real to me because I have been fired in those situations. I had corporate guys come in to fire me.
Right. I've had to fire people. And on top of that, you know, we used all these real people in the film, and I heard every single one of their stories. So I have a very good understanding now of at least what happens in that scene. The astonishing thing is, you know, if you had asked me before I made this film, you know, what's the hardest part about being fired, I would probably said the loss of income. That, you know, I didn't make a movie about people who worked on a factory line. I made a movie about people who went to college and started careers and had real salaries and had a mortgage and often 2 car payments and, you know, kids about to go to college who are left suddenly with nothing. And I said, you know, must be the loss of income. But what I came to realize is that, at least for the people, and I talked to a lot of people, it was the loss of purpose, the reason to get out of bed in the morning. The thing that they would say that scared me the most was, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. We do the interview and they say, I can get in my car after this interview and I don't need to be anywhere. And that seems to be the most frightening thing.
You know, if I ever made an exclusive club like your main character does, I would want Sam Elliott to come out and talk to me. And, you know, he's like, at first you go, huh? And then Sam Elliott sitting down and explaining things. Just a little bit about, was that the inspiration that if, you know, you're going to have anything?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the voice of God, and if you're going to have a moment where you receive something that you thought was the world to you, and then you realize in that very moment that it means nothing, I thought, who better than Sam Elliott to give it to you? He's also, ironically, the voice of Coors, and Clooney used to be the voice of Budweiser, so I find it interesting that the voice of Budweiser talking to the voice of Coors. I had to convince him to do it. He didn't originally want to do it.
Really?
And it's one tiny scene.
Yeah.
I remember he read it, he's like, Jason, this is one page. And I said to him, but you're the Wizard of Oz. You're the character we've been waiting to see the entire film. And I pushed and finally agreed, and he came out and shot the scene. It took like 3 hours. It's just nothing. He came out. I think we flew him back the same day.
When you talked a little bit about the transition between writer to director and stuff, as a writer, you write a scene where you have the girl cries, but then you have Anna give one of the funniest crying scenes I've ever seen. Is that? Can you just talk a little bit about that scene? That scene just broke my heart, but I was laughing at the same time.
Yeah, no, I mean that was very much on purpose. I mean, you have a girl who basically is immediately hateable. You know, she's this kind of know-it-all that's pushing George the entire first half of the film, and I wanted to make this turn. And it's funny because we shot her sequence at the end of the shoot, that Miami sequence, so we built up to that. So it's like I had her kind of just stay clenched the entire time, knowing that we get to Miami, that is the moment where she finally just kind of wails. And there's something wonderful about a girl so tough and such a know-it-all suddenly being completely vulnerable in such a public, embarrassing way. And it's not she cried in private, she cried in a hotel lobby.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I just knew that would be a wonderful moment to watch this character finally just open up in such a big way. And it was funny because I had to push Anna a little because she had played it so clenched that she got used to her character being in control. And finally it's like, no, now it's about being out of control.
The Post Movie Podcast is sort of a Boston-centered film discussion podcast. And one of the things we'd like to do is provide our readers some news about the upcoming events in the coming week that are worth attending, things that John and I think you ought to know about and that the Boston film community would be interested in. So we have a few things coming up this week. Monday, December 7th at the Harvard Film Archive is a tribute to Steve Livernash. Steve Livernash, who retired this summer after 20 years as the HFA's chief projectionist, will reflect on his 4 decades of working in Boston and Cambridge, taking us from the Carpenter Center to the porn theaters of notorious Combat Zone and back again, with the help of films by Robert Fulton, Eric Martins, and Derek Lamb, as well as a selection of Steve's treasured oddities and rarities. Also on Monday, December 7th, at the Coolidge Corner is a screening of American Beauty, which is part of the theater's Science on Screen series. Daniel Gilbert, professor of psychology at Harvard University and best-selling author of Stumbling on Happiness, will be on hand to discuss the film and explain how the way our imaginations may be steering us wrongly in our search for happiness. On Wednesday, December 9th, at the Brattle Theater, the Brattle Theater now has a liquor license, which ties in with the films that they're going to be screening on Wednesday, which are Strange Brew and Smokey and the Bandit. Thursday, December 10th at the Coolidge Corner is an interesting program. They have an event entitled Grub Street Presents Adaptations, Novels to Film. An all-star lineup of acclaimed authors, including Richard Russo, writer of The Heist Harvest and Empire Rising, Eleanor Limpman, who wrote the novel which Helen Hunt based her film Then She Found Me on, and Tom Perrotta, who wrote the novels Little Children and Election. They'll be on hand to read short excerpts from their novels and show the corresponding scenes from the films and discuss the translation from page to screen. At the Brattle on Thursday, December 10th is the premiere screening of Victory Day. It's a special event screening at 8 p.m. Victory Day of the story of Sam Castles, a firebrand journalist with a short fuse who has been expelled from Russia, his adopted homeland, for punching out the Minister of Finance at a press conference. Retrenching in Prague, Cassels finds that his troubles are only beginning. He discovers that a powerful and corrupt Russian, Agralsky, is close at hand. Hungry for retribution, exposing Agralsky becomes a suicidal fixation for Cassels. Victory Day is a thriller that plays out against the beautiful and brutal landscape of Eastern Europe from the 1990s to the present. On Friday, December 11th at the Brattle Theater is the area premiere of La Danse. Legendary documentarian Frederick Weissman will be on hand to discuss his newest feature. This is a behind-the-scenes look at the Paris Opera Ballet, which is one of the world's great ballet companies. Weissman follows the rehearsals and performances of 7 ballets and provides an intimate look at this legendary company. The film shows the work involved in administering the company and coordinating the collaborative efforts of the choreographers, ballet masters, dancers, musicians, designers, and of course, Frederick Weissman will be on hand to discuss the film and answer your questions on Friday. And the Brattle also has a program running from Friday the 11th to Monday the 14th entitled Ho Ho Horrors, a collection of horrifying Christmas films. Well, okay, here are the titles. The Day of the Beast, Treevenge, Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Don't Open Till Christmas. Christmas, a time for giving, a time for family, a time to be kind to others, a time for maniacal killers, demon babies, and killer trees. The Brattle says, join us to remember what the holidays are all about. No, can't use that. Maiming and killing. These films were screened Friday, December 11th to the 13th. Check brattlefilm.org for dates and showtimes.
Rather than talk about Christmas Carol, which I really didn't like.
Yeah, let's
forget about that. Dump on Christmas. Do you want to talk about Devil House? Was it Devil House? No, you just talk about Devil House. And I would leave Christmas Carol out of it.
Okay. So, John, this is a movie you have to see. House of the Devil.
Oh, that's it.
Ty West has created this movie, House of the Devil. And it's playing as at a midnight show. It actually starts today, which I think is the 4th. But anyway, it's also playing next week at the Coolidge Midnight Show. Excellent midnight movie. I just love the whole early 80s, late 70s, early 80s ambiance of this. And the director nails it. Ty West, he nails it. It's good. It's good.
What's it about?
It's this story of, well, Goddard says, to make a movie, a good movie, you have to have a girl and a gun. And then the New York Times, I think, added in parentheses, and a bit of money. So they have that in this movie, of course. But, okay, the essence of it is really slim. It's just a simple story of a babysitter who has been asked to stay the night or stay 4 hours in this house. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's certain red flags, obviously, that go up. Her and her friend. So Jocelyn Donahue plays the babysitter, Samantha, and her friend is Greta Gerwig. She's sort of like her confidant, discussing her rent problems with her, and she needs money, and then there's this opportunity to do this babysitting thing. So they go out to the house, and Greta Gerwig's character Megan is totally against it, but the guy who she meets with at the house, he's a creepy character, Tom Noonan. Mr. Ullman. It's the Ullmans who live in the house. She puts the creepiness, out of her mind because they're going to pay her $400 to do this, and she only has to be in the house for 4 hours. And it's coincidentally on the night of some lunar eclipse, where there's going to be 4 hours of darkness. So this is a movie where less is more. It's not like Halloween, blood flying everywhere, decapitation, stuff like that. This is the creepiness of what's behind the door kind of thing. And it really works. I don't, some people may be like, I don't know if the payoff was that great, but the suspense is great. Yeah. And what goes on in the house is great. And there are a couple of startling moments, particularly one with Greta Gerwig outside the house that it's just like, it's one of those whoa shit moments. That was good. That was good. Yeah, there's some blood spattering and stuff. But when it happens, you're like, oh, man. So I was thinking, you got to see this movie. You really have to. There's double stuff that goes on in the house. What more else do I need to, there's some creepy shit behind the door. Yeah. But for $400 and she's got to make rent, all she has to do is just hang at the house and, put up with some stuff. But boy, man, there's a point where, it's good. Yeah, I'd like to get Ty West on to do an interview because it's going to play for a little while at the Coolidge. Is it going to make the jump to mainstream, or is it always going to be the midnight show? I don't know. It's I suspect it's Magnolia or Magnet releasing has it. It's playing really sparingly. I think it's playing at the Music Box in Chicago and a couple of other theaters. Yeah. It's like 4 theaters in the United States, and the Coolidge is one of them. So, and it comes out in DVD in February anyway. Well, it sounds like something you want to see in the theater to be with other people. Oh, absolutely. And get scared along with them. This movie has great pacing. The editing and the stop action credits are terrific. The wardrobe, the feathery hair that the girls have, and it really makes its case for the filmmakers knowing what they were doing and pacing it correctly, and it's fun. It's a fun movie. I think it's a terrific choice for a midnight film at the Coolidge. So see that one. John, would you pay $10 to see Brothers? No. I wouldn't take $10 to see Brothers. I'm right there with you. And Steve, would you pay $10 to see Up in the Air? Yeah, man. I would do that. There's sappiness there, but, sure, yeah. And would you loan me $10 to go see a midnight movie at the Coolidge? Plus cab fare home. Or should I wait is for it DVD? Worth it? I would help you out, John. Thank you. I would. You want a ticket? I will do that. All right. I will do that. It's House of the Devil. Now people are going to be like, did Steve come through on the ticket?
I will let them know next cast.
I am Steve Head.
And I am John Black.
And this is the Post Movie Podcast. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to check out the website, postmovie.wordpress.com, for links and notes. Until next week, signing off.